If you're feeling stuck in a rut or lacking inspiration when it comes to writing riffs or combining riffs or just putting awesome song ideas together, this video is for you. If you're new here, I'm Rob Arnold, and I've helped write well over 100 songs, gaining worldwide recognition, and I've got a couple easy techniques that I'd like to share with you today that you'll be then able to put into your own music right away. I see comments from guys all the time asking stuff like, I've got a riff I like, but how do I know what riff to put next? Or how should I link a couple riffs together? Or I'm in a writing rut and can't think of anything to play. What should I do? So let's get into a simple technique here that can make the most out of any riff that you write. And after that, we'll address a very common problem, which is lack of inspiration. So I've chosen just one riff here that's just a great example of an amazing songwriting technique, riff writing technique. It's so easy that it's gonna make you say, why didn't I think of that? It's a riff by a band called District 5, and the song's called Bills. It's pretty old, but here's the riff. Real easy riff, and I'm not here to teach the riff, but like I said, it's just a great example of this technique. So the way the song starts, it's that riff, but it's like mono, one guitar, right up the middle, kind of like it's made to sound like an old record. It's very lo-fi, so it's quieter. Do this 4 times. Drums kick in, full guitars kick in, both sides, bass. And they break in like that. So our ears and our minds are hearing a couple different things right off the bat. And a very common technique, like when I sit down to write a riff, generally when I stumble upon a riff that I like, that becomes the theme of my song, the main riff that I'm gonna build everything else off of. And in many standard structured songs, the intro riff, the riff you start with or what you hear first, also becomes the chorus or is implemented in the chorus in some way. So that main riff was their initial building block. They started it with lo-fi, then they break into it. Then when they hit the verses, they just mute and single string it. So same riff, just a different way of playing it. Then when they hit the pre-chorus, they break it up a little bit like this. 4 times. Chorus. So for that chorus, they break into the full version of it, the version with the most weight. So let's break that down for a second. Right there we have an intro, a verse, a pre-chorus, and a chorus. Basically the entire song written for you. In typical song structures, you'd kind of repeat that stuff, not the intro, but many songs go verse, pre-chorus, chorus. So the point of all this is that you don't necessarily need a ton of riffs. You can just take one riff and play it a bunch of different ways. You heard those ways, I already played it. Check it out, I can do it just no muting single string. I can trill pick it. I can full open chord without strumming. I can do some like triplet picking pattern thing. So there's just a million ways to skin a cat. So that's the premise of this whole technique. Think about how you can break up your riffs. My band Chimera, Cleansation is a great example. Now granted, we switch up the tail a tiny bit, but it's pretty much the same riff, but instead of open chords, muting it. So think about that with your riff writing before thinking that you need to all of a sudden link a bunch of riffs together. Now, of course, I write songs and there are many, many songs where it's lots of riffs linked together. But before you go pulling your hair out about trying to put a bunch of stuff together, pick the one riff that you love and see how you can just play it differently. Muted, open, full chords, strum differently, different picking patterns, things like that. And I think that'll really help elevate your songwriting and just inspire you to give you some new ideas. Speaking of inspiration, let's get into that now. Lots of guys ask, oh, I'm in this rut. I can't think of anything cool to write. And my answer is always the same to them because it's the technique that works for me. I'm not saying that this is going to work for everybody, but I bet it will. No matter what, if I'm driving around and I'm listening to Sirius XM or I'm listening to something on YouTube, I am always inspired because I'm always, while enjoying, I'm listening. And I'll always hear some melody, some riff, some beat, some feel, some tempo, some transition, some change, some good use of a key change, some vocal thing that they implemented in some way. And I always take that stuff and remember it and think to myself, I'm going to try to implement that technique into my own music. So to me, the possibilities are endless because all I have to do is listen to music. And to get started, listen to your favorite music, your favorite songs. And if you're able, try to learn those songs. Just pick one or two of your favorite songs and try to learn it. Because let's just I'm going to just think of a song, for example. How about, I'm trying to think of one that maybe lots of people would know. How about Metallica's Sad But True? So you may go ahead and try to learn that song. Find the tab online, use your ear, combine both those things. Learn the song, and I guarantee you will learn so many things just by learning and breaking down one song. New riffs, new techniques, new picking techniques, new ways that they link their riffs together. Like you see how one riff goes into another, from a verse to a chorus, from a chorus to a bridge, from a chorus to an outro. All those techniques, if you think about it and really try to reverse engineer what's happening, those unlock enormous songwriting techniques for you to put into your own arsenal. Techniques, licks, things like that you wouldn't have known before. If you learn just one Kirk Hammett solo, maybe that you hadn't before or something, there will be some new lick in there that you probably never played that then you can use in your own music, morph in some way, pick little pieces from, whatever you want to do. It's just the process of learning the music that you love. And why I say you love, why that's important is because it's way easier to learn songs that you know already in your mind. If you're super familiar with Sad But True but never tried to play it on guitar, it's going to come to you a lot easier learning it because you already know it in your head versus trying to learn some song that you have no idea how the arrangement goes or anything like that. So I hope that makes sense. Now, again, using Sad But True as an example, check this out. You may hear that after hearing me say this and think to yourself, whoa, I never thought that I could put a little single string tail after some chords. So maybe you come up with these chords on your own. Something like that. Would you have thought to do this? So that's like a little example. So let's just say, here, I'm just going to fire off some riff. See how I was just improvising a little tail at the end of each one of those. So maybe you wouldn't have thought to do something like that, or even if that was a possibility in your riff writing, had you not heard the little Sad But True thing. Those are the type of little inspirational tips that I pick up on all the time. Let's talk about let me combine what I'm talking about there and what I talked about from the District 5 song earlier in this lesson. We're going to take a song by my band Kimura, Frozen in Time. I believe it's track 2 off our Infection record. There's this part in the bridge where we're doing a simple picking well, the picking isn't simple, but like a simple part. It doesn't even really use the left hand. Check this out. Okay, so we play that for a little while. Mark sings over it, and then we kind of stop, and then we just break it down to halftime. Same riff. So same riff, easy, but listen to this tempo. That counting weird, but the example is we just took the same riff and then just slowed it down, and the impact of the heaviness of that breaking in much slower is what created a cool part, just with the exact same riff. And then we took it a step further while we're in the slow part. After 4. Just a simple key change. All we did, I'm in drop C right here. We just went from C to B. To D, sorry, C to D. So just little key changes like that. That's something I try to impress on people all the time, that key changes are huge. In my opinion, Metallica solos like Ride the Lightning, Master of Puppets, and Justice, so many of those solos are so epic and memorable because there's multiple riffs and multiple key changes happening under the solo. Lots of bands will just, this is the solo part, and it'll be just one riff over and over again in the same key. It's hard for a soloist to write interesting solos over just the same riff for an extended period of time. But if there are key changes going on, you know, a lot more interesting soloing can be done over that. Same with vocals. It's a lot more interesting for a vocalist to sing over a riff that's moving around in terms of its key, especially at part changes in parts from verses to choruses and things like that, rather than staying stagnant in the same key, even the same tempo throughout. So now I feel like this was a lot. I meant to make this a simple lesson, but just a lot to unpack there, a lot to think about with your own songwriting and riff building, tempo changes, key changes, making use of the same riff, just picked in different ways for different dynamics. And I hope this would really be helpful for you. Now, what if you say, hold on, Rob, I'm lacking the skills to even play some of those riffs like that, and the techniques, or even get started, those chords, things like that. I'm not really ready for that yet. Well, then what you should do right now is watch one of these videos next, where I'll break down some more great techniques for you to check out to start building your riffing arsenal and technique so you're confident, you have proper stamina, and just all the great things to get your riff writing going today. Thanks for watching.